For me with gushers, I just didn't like how it's mostly just like it getting stuck in your teeth. Whereas like what I liked with the fruit roll up and fruit by the foot is that like you can kind of just let it, you can kind of suck on it on the bit, like you can like lay it across your tongue and like let it sort of
like disintegrate
as you suck on it.
And your tongue's like just salivating, just like exploding.
Yeah, exactly. That's as soon as I did that, I was like, wow, that was like
just sploosh. Yeah. I used to do that with like a cherry blow pop. I would like put it on one side of my tongue and then the other side, and then I would feel like all the techniques.
My goodness, fun techniques.
You don't just eat candy, okay?
You really don't. Baby bottle pops.
Oh my,
fucking love the baby bottle. And I would like do that. You do like a roll of the tongue around the candy nipple.
Yeah, like a ring pop. Is
exactly.
Like
yeah.
So totally just a nipple substitute.
Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Can't find baby bottle pops anymore. Did they stop making those?
I don't know. I definitely have seen ring pops, but baby bottle pops, it's been a long time.
Baby bottle pop.
We gotta find like one of those candy warehouses that has everything. I think there is one down in Long Beach.
There's a lot of like banger candy I haven't had in a minute, and baby bottle pops I really liked.
I think we
ring
should do
pops,
this.
which still exist. Yeah, let's do it. Hey Victoria.
Hey Chelsea.
You know what I could use right now?
What could you use?
A breath of fresh movie.
Excellent. We got one.
That's a movie I like to see.
You want to do it?
You do it.
Okay.
Sorry.
I mean, I'm not like territorial. Like, are you gonna do it?
No, you do it.
All right.
You do it so good.
Doing it. This is A Breath of Fresh Movie, a weekly podcast where I, Victoria Harley,
and I, Chelsea Pope, take thee, Victoria.
I know, every time. We watch a movie neither one of us has ever seen, and then we talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in the talking about it, we're going to talk about whatever we want, but we might not talk about everything. But
we will talk about anything. We'll be jumping around.
We do jump around
sometimes.
Spoil. We try. I mean, but you know, this is about our. That's the thing. I feel like it's worth restating. This is not about us like being like people say this is really great, and we're gonna go ahead and upload that. Like
this also isn't like found flicks. Like we're not gonna explain this like plot point by plot point.
Yeah, we'll give you a log line, but you know.
Yeah, we'll give you a log line. We'll spoil the ending.
Yeah, we will. That is a guarantee.
We'll ruin your faves.
A big part of the, dare I say, mission of the podcast is to try new things and to be open-minded to them as much as possible.
I've been enjoying the array of movies we've been
trying to mix it up.
In.
It's, and there are times where the little critic in my brain is like, fresh, that's a pretty stale one you chose that week. Like,
well, it's fresh for us because we've not seen these.
I haven't opened that can yet, so it is a fresh.
It is a fresh can.
Fresh can
of suck. No,
of anything.
Yeah,
jelly, worms.
Yeah,
beans,
bread.
I like canned bread.
Canned bread, like Squidward.
I was thinking of like the biscuits in a tin. That's like canned bread.
Oh yeah, that's
canned bread.
It is canned bread.
I'm gonna start calling it canned bread.
That is correct.
Hey, Al, can you pick me up some canned croissants?
Canned croissants. That'd actually probably be good.
That's what they should just call it.
I would eat canned bread. I like bread. You put it in a can.
Yeah.
Put it in my mouth.
Yeah.
Take it out of the can.
But it has that anxiety-inducing like line that you have to put the spoon on. And then, yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, I don't do that. I bang the biscuit thing against the counter and let it rip.
I like that.
I do the aggressive.
I live in fear because there are some designs where you just pull the label off and it goes. Pff. Others, you have to pull the label off and then you have to go get like an implement.
I don't even read. I don't read any of that shit anymore. I just feel it for a second. Bam! Right on the corner of the counter.
Well, I've been doing it wrong my whole life. That's what I now realize.
I think it's nice because it's like once in a while I'm like, oh, I didn't realize I had so much anger. That was a nice release. I can't wait till next Christmas.
You're making me think about that scene in Mad Men where Betty, there's a chair with a fucked up leg, and then she starts just like smacking it to break it off, and then she just destroys the chair, and the kids are just staring at her like, what was that?
She's fucking done, dude.
'Cause she's angry.
She's done.
Yeah.
She's been riled up. like it's just inward anger. So then you start getting more extra, you start expressing it. And that was like, to me, I was like, oh, okay, that's
so good.
Her arms are all better now. Her hands aren't numb now.
God, I fucking love that scene so much.
It's a great show. But we're not talking about Mad Men today.
Dang, you're right.
Shucks. But we are talking about men gone mad.
We are, yes, some mad men.
We're going to be talking about Fire Island.
What? Yes. The 2022, this year.
It's a recent one.
So fresh, you guys.
This is one of the freshest movies we've watched in a while, actually. I don't know if we've watched any other 2022 movies recently, have we?
I can't remember anything.
This is a relatively like current.
This came out in
the zeitgeist type film.
Yeah, this came out at the start of Pride Month. So
there you go.
You know, inspired by Pride and Prejudice, this is a story that follows a group of gay men on their vacation to Fire Island, only for things to become complicated by classism and romance.
Really worked.
Oh my god!
Parallels with Pride and Prejudice really worked.
It worked like gangbusters.
And it's like there's some of these things I sort of already had heard about or known about gay culture, like those different subcultures going on there. But it was genuinely like an interesting sociological study.
Some review, they described it as being both inviting and insular at the same time, which I think is such a great way to describe it, because there are certain aspects of it that, like, I just in a filmmaking sense, I'm like, I really don't like VO. Not saying it can't be done. It can be done. Yeah. Sunset Boulevard does it to great effect.
Oh, sure. There's definitely a lot of, I'm being lazy here, just calling it like corny or by the numbers, I guess. But like the VO and some of the dialogue's very like, you remember when we met? Yeah. There's like a lot of very on the nose stuff, but like, it's charming, it serves, it works. And then of course, immediately I started arguing with myself as some of the stuff's happening. It's like, well, there are so many by the numbers.
Oh, other movies like
hetero rom-coms that are shitty as fuck. And this is like, there's some by the numbers stuff happening here, but it's very charming.
I think
and they should have, we need more queer rom-coms.
Yeah. It's certainly not the first of its kind, but I think I think there's something really fun about this, and like really, the movie itself is somewhat wrestling with the idea of rom-com, and in as such, they get to check a lot of rom-com boxes. A lot of what you're saying, like, or
would we be more disappointed if they were just constantly having to try to fight to subvert these things? I don't want to be trying to ask too much from like just a fun rom-com.
I think they're interrogating the idea of a rom-com within an actual rom-com. I think I saw some other critic, and I sort of agreed, like feeling like it might have been nice if they just dispensed with that altogether. Yeah. However, I think because I should have known it was a Pride and Prejudice story, because the very first line, he quotes the opening line of Pride and Prejudice. But I just thought, oh, okay, he's interested in this genre and these things, and they make reference to other stuff. So it wasn't until the Mr. Wickham character showed up that I was like, oh, this is Pride and Prejudice. Right. This is Pride and Prejudice. Oh my God, how did I not see that? And then I was like, oh, this is great. Because it doesn't matter that I know how it ends. It's getting to see like how they interpreted it. And goddamn, it was perfect. Like,
it was really, really well done. I was pleasant. I knew it was, everybody was saying, everybody was going nuts for it on Twitter and stuff, and so it's like I knew it would be good, but like I think
there's always that like moment where something's out and everyone is more eager to let you know that they've seen something, so they're very enthusiastic rather than like, we wait a couple months, will you still feel this way,
right? Exactly.
Like, I mean, somebody pointed that out even on Twitter. Like, man, like when Euphoria's on, it's so weird how you can just tweet something like Cassie, no, and get 10,000 likes, It's like
true.
This interactiveness that we have to show everybody what we're like, that we're making television viewing a competitive sport.
I think it's also coming from that starvation of there being like traditional water cooler, like,
absolutely
experiences.
We're lacking a lot of them. It's true.
That water cooler niche talk.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
But like I find it incredibly annoying that there's those like viral euphoria.
Oh, I can't. And I don't know. Even shows I love.
I have
even shows I love. I can't
successfully try to make fun of that.
Yeah, I can't deal with the Succession Twitter. I can't deal with Barry Twitter. Like basically all the HBO Twitters. I'm like just pipe down.
I feel like there's something going on there.
There's something going on.
I feel like there's something going on there, if I'm being honest.
The conspicuous consumption, competitive sports is like everything's a competitive sport. And then they don't have to pay for marketing. We just do it for them, you know? Like,
it's true.
What the fuck?
But I also do wonder to a certain degree how or what could possibly be manufactured in some of those instances.
Well, it's true.
Which is not to say that none of the stuff that's getting hyped is like the hype is,
but there is
unmerited.
But there is like,
I don't know.
I mean, the reason we saw so much fucking Amber Heard, Johnny Depp stuff was because his defense team was paying to have a lot of that stuff pumped into the internet. Like
when we saw that, like with very, not just Trump, but it was various politicians, like most politicians actually are paying for some sort of PR cushioning on their social media.
Oh my God. Everybody pays somebody to do it. And it's anyway.
That being said, this was a good movie. This was genuinely really, really well done. And I was pleasantly surprised. I thought it was going to be a little too much of just like, I thought it was going to be a little too tropey. I thought it was going to be a bit annoying, actually.
Yeah.
I thought it was just going to be too much of people just like being sassy and shitty. And there's definitely sass.
But
it wasn't bogged down by it. I felt like they told a story and they didn't want to get caught up in they want to unpack some of the stereotyping.
They do.
I liked that.
And I also got to say, like, if you've been
I went in with prejudice.
Well, there were many kinds of gay men in this movie.
Yes.
Like many kinds. There are gay villains, there are gay heroes, there are gay romantics, there are gay sluts, it's everything. And what I liked about this movie is that even though Fire Island represent, like, and for anyone who doesn't know, because some people don't know, I mean, like they say in the film, like, right, when everything was illegal and you like, or things were still very illegal, it was this place people could come.
Yeah.
But what's more important than just like, okay, it's a haven, is that it's actually like, this is physically an island off the coast of, it's off the coast of Long Island in New York. I mean, I read this from the filmmakers and from other people. They say there's something that you carry with you when you're in sort of straight society.
Yeah.
And that coming to this place where everybody is that way, you're able to just really drop a ton of shit off your shoulders.
Yeah.
And that anticipation of even being on the ferry, we're almost there, and we're here. I mean, it was such a beautiful place. Like, I didn't know how beautiful, like with all the boardwalks and everything. I mean, I was like,
really pretty.
My first feeling was like, I wish I was gay. I want to go to Fire Island. Yeah. And it was sort of part travelogue in how many, the beautiful exteriors they shot on location. I mean, it's like, and apparently they had to go and get that done like right after Labor Day. It was like they couldn't interfere with tourist season. So they had about 2 weeks to shoot like all the exteriors there.
They did a great job.
It's great.
It looked fantastic.
Oh no, the place is so much a part of it. And also I didn't write down all the events, but like, you know, the moment the dances in Pride and Prejudice are now like, oh, it's the tea dance, or it's the underwear party, or it's, you know,
I really liked that
gay society.
I thought it worked really. I thought they did a really, really good job, and there was some really fun homages going on.
So
like,
many,
especially like I feel like Joel Kim Booster's a 2005 Pride and Prejudice stan a little bit, because there's the rain confrontation scene.
Oh no,
like,
that was good.
Oh, absolutely, this works.
Oh, and like the casting is so perfect, and everybody
was very, very likable, very charming.
I'm with you.
It really worked.
I think like Joel Kim Booster was adopted by white parents and raised in Illinois, and he got involved in performing arts and things like that. So it's not to say that like, oh, like that's why he maybe knew Pride and Prejudice, but I think there's something really interesting about him interrogating this like very classic tale, because like he even begins by saying, sounds like a lot of hetero shit, you know? I mean, and so it's already taking there's a wink happening at all times. They really like highlighted an individual's philosophy for happiness in life and how they can differ, particularly in the main characters. And like that scene where the two main characters are arguing with each other, like in the bathroom about what they need. And it's like Howie, who's played by Bowen Yang, and I've forgotten the main character's name.
Oh shit! No, Will is the love interest.
Will's the love interest.
Noah
and Howie are fighting. I guess that was one of the first scenes they filmed, and it really gets at like the emotional truth of what makes them different and the real journeys those two characters are on. And I think it's kind of interesting that dynamic is constantly like what is at odds like throughout the rest, because to get into the story a little bit more, Noah decides that, oh, I'm not going to have sex until Howie has sex because he's single and sad and we need to like get him to hook up with somebody.
I liked the dynamic shift too, because in the original, I like the way certain things were translated and slightly tweaked, like in the original Pride and Prejudice, you know, and
like Howie would have been her friend, right?
Or Howie could have been like the really hot but shy. Not that Bowen Yang's not attractive, but I guess like, you know, Jane is always like, oh, this,
she's
and
so
then
pretty.
we're putting down lit. I liked that we weren't going out of our way to like be creating those kinds of differentiations, although they really did a good job, I think, unpacking things that I've heard from other friends in that community.
Yeah.
That, like the racism, the classism.
God. Yeah, I wanted to talk about that.
It can be, you know, and what you also just talked about too, the idea of like, once they get to Fire Island, we're not constantly having to compare things with straight culture. Like we can just fully immerse into it. Yeah. And I think that really makes it nice. And but all the more reason then you can really see all these different nuances that I think, you know, and
it allows you to see
in the mainland, the everything is kind of blanketed outside of that community.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, you're totally right. I mean, it revealed, I did not expect it to address class and race as much as it did. And I was really impressed.
It was very, again, very insightful.
Oh my God.
And it had fun with it. It didn't feel too bogged down. Like, I feel like it was a really good balance of not being too bogged down with like a socio-political agenda, but also simultaneously it was self-aware.
Oh yeah.
And, the characters the characters were fun. Nothing was too caricature-y, I would say. Even though, like, obviously, like the different friends, like there's only so much development they each get.
I mean, there's not so much time, and I mean, they're very. I mean, one of them
clearly Pride and Prejudice, and then the same vein as Pride and Prejudice. Well, even those sisters are all like pretty broad.
Because the youngest sisters were the really silly ones who were always embarrassing them and drinking and going too far at the party.
Which makes sense.
So that these two represent that, and they're doing that scene perfectly. I mean, that whole, like, we're in a really wealthy person's house. We don't feel like we belong. That's something that both the director Andrew Ahn and Joel Kim Boaster described, like, upon visiting Fire Island, was like, you know, it was this incredible place, but every once in a while, someone would stare at you with this kind of certainty that was like, you don't belong here.
Yeah, and then when classism. That's
I mean, the class stuff was like, I was like, oh, that is so genius. But then when they started to really get into the invisibility of like Asian men and the fetish stuff, and I mean, this is written by a gay Asian man. It's directed by a gay Asian man. All the cast is queer. It's just, I think that's why so much of it works. And I like that it is centered more on like, not that it's exclusive to an Asian experience, but this whole, you know, he's going to settle for this rice queen because like, oh, you know, or how he is, you know, because like, well, he wants to fuck me. So, you know, I guess that's enough. You know, even though this guy is clearly just like has an Asian fetish and he's got like 2 anime tattoos, I think.
Yeah, which is just so,
and it just made
so sad.
It breaks your heart so much because it's like you're being so dehumanized. And that there is like, this strata of like, if you're white and rich, you're still at the top. And like any person of color, it's questionable. And then it's just, it was so, I think I like the fact that it didn't look away from that. Like, it showed how much gay culture is not a monolith. And how there are so many different kinds of gay, and there's so many
and like you're already, you know, just because you're in this community, like there's still people, creating these factions, these binaries.
Oh, and the assumption that like everyone in the group is poor. Like they're just baseline. I love a story where the baseline assumption is no one here has money. Like we're never going to own property. Like I had to, like, they're like, how did you get here? Like Uber? Like what is that? Like a $300 ride? Like credit card?
Credit card from Forever 21.
Yeah, right.
Which I will also say too, the way they justified the them having the property they had, and Margaret Cho's character too
swallowed a piece of glass.
I thought that was so fucking funny. She swallowed a piece of glass at a mainstream Italian restaurant chain.
Got a great settlement, bought the house. No, and
so
she was interesting. So the original cast wasn't going to have. This sounds really gross. It wasn't supposed to have this many Asians in it. And over time, that sounds gross. I know, but people dropped out over time. And they deliberately.
I feel like it worked.
I mean, no, it was great. And Margaret Cho being added was kind of part of that. And the Darcy character, Will, Conrad, shit, I forgot his name. But, he's, there's all these people who were brought in and given, it kind of made this more particular. And this director, Andrew Ahn, his previous film was about being gay and Korean, and it was sort of centered on the Korean bathhouse experiences, and it was set in LA. And basically he's made films that are very soulful and searching about what does it mean to be gay and Asian, and how do my parents fit into that, and how does this, am I this person now? And so I think it's really cool that this very sensitive indie director was given a sizable budget. They got like 10 million to do this thing, and he said something to the effect of like, "Oh, I was used to making indie films, and I'm just used to people never seeing that." So he's like, it's just crazy to have people having seen this.
It's great.
And of course, Joel Kim Booster said something about like, I think they went back this summer. They filmed it last year, and while they were filming it, again, just another example of this, Booster talked about this experience of people walking past them while they're filming, and they're like, "Oh, he's the lead in that movie that they're making," and the guy kind of turning to him to being like, "Oh, him?"
That's so fucking gross.
It's the grossest.
There's like I can't. It's. I want to be like careful because like it's like I'm a straight white woman talking about this culture I'm not technically that immersed in. I'm straight leaning. Let's say it's about a 70-30 track record, but like I would say there's just like some of the openly bitchy behavior.
Oh yeah,
trust me, straight. Anybody can be openly bitchy, but some of that is
it's
just very
It's cutting.
I can imagine, and it clearly is. It is expressed in this film, so I feel like there'd be a certain semblance of agreement, at least inherently, in this idea of like there's some open bitchiness. That's
and that's like that feels
very unsettling.
That also feels like Pride and Prejudice to me, though.
Yeah, very. It's classism. It's not necessarily sexuality. It's just it's blatant classism.
The rigid gatekeeping, and that like, and there's something interesting too about how the love story between Will and Noah, it's kind of like it's a relationship or it's love that is somewhat achieved through sparring with each other or barbs, and like this idea that like you can kind of be a bitch to somebody, but it's okay, we're all still here, no one's gonna storm off. That's like our tone. And I know that's not everyone at all places all the time, but there was something kind of about, the Elizabeth Bennet Darcy story is like, they don't like each other, and they're both very smart and they're both very good at like kind of cutting at each other. And yet that is like why they're perfect for each, it's like this really, but this kind of strange, like, I don't want to say twisted, it's not that, but there's something about an exchange of violence as being kind of part of the language of romance here. Like, and I'm not trying to speak for like that's true for everyone, but we're seeing a very specific society, a very specific arrangement of people in a kind of hierarchy. And God, I love their friend who they're like, "We love you, but you're a pain in the ass, or you're too depressing. Well, you're no fun." Yeah. And he accidentally takes ecstasy or something.
So funny.
And it's like the first time, he never takes drugs. And my favorite part is he sees himself in the mirror and he's like, "That's me. I'm beautiful."
It's so beautiful. So
I was like,
he was a fun. I would have liked more of his character. Actually, I thought it was really adorable.
There wasn't enough room for everybody.
He was very sweet. Yeah, but also again, I know it's like you can only get so much of the Bennett siblings.
Oh, only so much. I mean, this could have been a mini series if they wanted to really drag it out.
I wonder if they're gonna do like a sequel, or like if they're gonna try and do this Bridgerton style where they just start doing different romance tropes.
Cool. I mean, this one in particular was originally supposed to be a Queeby project.
That's so funny. And then they dragged Queeby.
They did, yeah, because she was like, "I was an early investor in Queeby." So yeah, that really did happen. Funny. So this originally was going to be, I think, a serial, and then it got adapted into a film. I just have to mention, I fucking love the titles, the 70s big font, and the way like that too. Like Monday, Tuesday, like
aesthetically, like just very colorful, fun.
It fit the vibe completely, and I love how when something is fun and sexy, we get into 70s territory. Like, what is it about that decade that's just very porny and like. It's great.
It's a very upbeat, upswing,
Yeah.
open,
Kind
experimental.
We gave up.
Yeah,
Like, no one has taste.
It's also like pre-Reagan.
Yeah, good point.
Vibes. You know.
Yeah. But even just as a device for marking time, and because they keep talking about how time moves differently on Fire Island, and so I did like the way that they remind you like that day is over.
Yeah.
And all that happened in one day.
They do remind, time moves differently. It's a 3 weeks, months to
go by. Yeah.
It's a good justification for covering a lot of story in a short period of time.
Yeah, totally. There's a couple, there's also like lots of references to movies that I was like, I love that. Like way harsh tie.
Yeah.
Like,
they did that when they did the Marissa Tomei.
Yeah.
I loved all the pop culture
great.
references
Me too.
that they were doing. They were really fun.
I don't think it was too much either. I'm like, and it's like, I
was worried it was gonna I didn't want to get in a chokehold with like so much like referential like humor. I think, and they really don't get too into that.
Well, and what I like is that it's a kind of referential humor that I say
that in everything I do and say is referencing some bullshit. Well, I never recognize
that's
the
everybody
hypocrisy.
Always, yeah.
Yeah.
Or it didn't feel so contemporary gay. Like it was like anyone could be a Marissa Tomei fan, And
the Britney Spears sometimes, I felt like this was very millennial gay.
It is, and apparently that was changed. Like Bowen Yang suggested that song, and they did it, and that sort of choreography. That choreography that sort of broke up. That was not planned either.
So cute.
Like they just sort of did that on their own again, because like queerness has. There is an element of performance in being queer because the world is not for you. So you get really good at performing, but sometimes that means you end up performing against other people who also are used to having to perform. And that's so much what I feel like this is about, and why it's so great that they did get an all queer cast. And these people just inherently understood the text. They understood the life.
Good.
It's so good. It's so good.
I didn't get bored with this either.
I was not bored for a second.
Very,
I loved it.
Pleasantly. I was worried because of the fact that it was going to I knew from the get this was going to be Pride and Prejudice from that first line.
See, I didn't. Somehow I just was like, oh, okay.
All good. But I will say I was worried I was going to get bored. Mm-hmm. But just because I would know
how it ends. Yeah.
What was happening. But instead I found myself and thankfully from knowing the source material to a certain degree, I had fun seeing those parallels.
Yes. No, see, I think that's what they're counting on. I don't think that was
I enjoyed.
I think that's exactly
the way they conjugated certain things.
Exactly. Yeah, totally.
Also, how fucking unhinged can you be to release a sex tape? Like the equivalent of running off with Lydia.
Yeah.
The Wickham arc in this
ruining
is this guy's a fucking psychopath.
He is.
Or sociopath at least. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Dude,
I was like, that's wow.
Yeah. Well, and I did love that. Yeah, that was the Lydia running off. Like that, it'll ruin you. It ruins the family. It just, I don't know. Yeah, they found such a good way to update all of those things. And I think knowing that, yes, of course we know.
You legally blonded him.
Yeah. And of course we know that Darcy and Elizabeth end up together. Or in this case, Will and Noah will end up together. We know that.
But
that's
the
fine.
Journey.
But that's just it. It's exactly what you
develop
said.
It?
Yeah, it's exactly what you said. It's they're counting on you knowing the material so that you can enjoy those. But even if you don't know the material, you will enjoy it because it's a good fucking story.
It really, honestly, I got gay for Will.
Oh, yeah.
I did not expect that to happen. Really good casting because I was like, oh, that guy does seem really unpleasant and dickish and pretentious. And then by the end, I was like,
oh, he's so hot.
He was like the endearment. He really the way that Matthew McFadden nails that
perfect Darcy. Yeah,
he really super great casting.
I completely agree.
I mean, across the board, really great.
Everybody's great.
Really great casting in this whole movie.
No, totally. For film nerds out there who want to know, this was shot in 1/76. That aspect ratio is wider and they wanted to see more bodies and gesture, and they said the wider you go, the more it becomes about the face. You know, a lot of scenes where darkness really, you mentioned like, you know, the rain scene, you know, that's
dark rooms with humping. There's a lot, there is going to be a lot of like,
there's a lot of butts.
There's a lot of butts and like not full explicit like dick out gay sex, but definitely
like, gay sex. Yeah,
I kind of I liked the casual treatment of that to the degree where it was like it's just part of the culture. This is just a thing.
We're not gonna we're
on vacation. This stuff happens.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, it was just like, oh, what's he doing in here? You know, I mean, yeah, totally. No, I agree. It was such a tightrope walk. And in fact, I think the director, he literally said like he did want dicks in it, but he knew that an erect penis would give this an NC-17 rating and it would limit access.
I do feel like, not that I wouldn't have been opposed to dick, I guess.
No, I'm never opposed
to say. Yeah, I should clarify. I don't think I wouldn't have had a problem with the dick, but I do.
I get it.
I do like that
it changes the tone.
I think. Bit. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess if there were more dicks,
HBO's been doing it a lot.
I didn't think it needed it. I will say, I don't think it needed it.
It didn't. And in fact, you know, knowing all of that, he initially asked, he's like, well, how about like 2 flaccid penises, like one for each orgy? And basically they came back and they said, listen, we'll give you as many butts as you want. And so he was just like, okay. And he just went with it. There could have been more butts.
I think it's fine. Because honestly, totally I feel like once you bring out a dick, you're wondering how much. I think for me, I would have been like, are we going to see more dicks?
Yeah.
I think that's my reaction would have been like, how many more dicks am I going to get?
Like, it makes you.
A little bit.
I think it also adds some like questions or tension to like romantic scenes. Because you're like, oh, is it going to go that far or not?
Yeah.
You know?
And are we going to get a sex scene between Darcy and Liz?
And what I really loved is that although there was like, sex. You're right, part of the setting, and it's not commented on, it's not judged, it's just this, like you said, we're on vacation, this is part of it.
It happens.
This is part of it, and if you don't know about this, well, now you know. The movie is not about sex, though. It's so much about the attraction or trying to create a connection with somebody. And because, you know, Noah won't sleep with anyone until Howie does, it kind of forces him to do something he doesn't normally do, which is to not just jump into bed. And it was just the right tone. I don't know how else to put it.
No, I fully enjoyed.
My only complaint, you know, again, I brought up early at the beginning was, you know, VO's kind of...
Yeah, it's a little distracting
It's a little distracting, and also it can speed things up. Like, I don't want to say it's lazy, but it's like, right, you need to get a lot of information out. If this had been more of a indie art movie, it probably would have been a little bit longer, and maybe some of those character traits would have just revealed themselves through interactions instead of being told to us.
Right.
But then I also wondered if that VO like maybe was added, because sometimes that's the thing you do very last step, you know, because you realize something's not explained well, or you know, or sometimes you add a little line or something. But like, I wondered if that wasn't there kind of for straight audiences.
Yeah,
because he's really like, kind of come with me into this world, you know. And
I think it was it very much. I think it worked.
I mean,
I will say I think
it worked fine.
I agree, and I
hear what you're saying. I mean,
I'd be open to seeing a different iteration where that wasn't leaned on.
Yeah, I don't think it ruins anything, and I think they still do a fabulous job of the show and not tell thing, especially during that sequence. I mean, he's like, you have to go. Guy who's like, last night was fun, but you have to go. Yeah. Seriously, you have to leave. There was still plenty that make up for it. And again, I'm not saying it's a hard and fast rule. It can be done really well, adaptation, all that. My reaction to that was kind of like, I don't need that. I wanted this to be more queer, you know? But you know what? It's a mainstream queer rom-com, and Trojan horsing in a bunch of stuff through something mainstream is a way better thing than, you know, me getting my specific little artistic, you know, whatevers. Like,
I feel like 99% of that voiceover, I feel like the decision like really hinges on like just needing to like drive the point home with the Pride and Prejudice thing at the top.
I think you're right. Yeah.
For me, I'm wondering, I'm like, how much of that decision to put in the voiceover was just to really drive the point home at the top? Like,
I mean,
that Pride and Prejudice quote and then unpacking it. And
yeah, you're right. And I think him talking about his friends and introducing those characters that way, it does also kind of like...
I liked that.
I mean, it does explain... It's not... If it's exposition, fine, but it's doing its job, like, and doing it as well as it can.
Or you know, I would say maybe they didn't need it. The stuff I get hung up on in dialogue that gets tedious for me is a lot of the expositional dialogue. So in certain ways, I'm like,
You'd almost prefer to.
I would almost like. I'm actually cool with him just giving me a VO about, Margaret Cho swallowing glass.
Yeah, I mean that was great.
I thought that was better than being like
suddenly being taken to the restaurant.
They're all. We don't have anyone experiencing Fire Island for the first time for them to be able to explain any of this stuff.
That's true.
So that's why when there was that, like the one bit of expositional dialogue that I found a little tedious, but I understand why it was there, when they're sitting on the roof and it's like, you remember when we met? It gets tedious when you don't have somebody like who can be the liaison for everybody else coming into this. Like we're the ones that are like the newcomers to Fire Island. They've all been before.
Yeah, no, you're right.
How else are we going to learn this new information?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure, definitely there are other like clever creative ways you can learn
but
things
you make
about
a good point.
like relationships.
No, you make a good point. I mean, especially that line about the broken glass, because I mean, I referenced Sunset Boulevard, that's like one of those movies where the VO adds information.
Right.
It's not like making up for a lack. It's like, no, it's actually enriching what is going on here.
Yes.
And I think that's a great example, like, because you hear that and it's like, it explains the house. Like we quickly understand everything. And we also learn something about her character. And
I'll get bogged down with that. Even if there was like a newcomer character to Fire Island, I still would get like, I'd probably, if it was just getting like constantly embedded into the dialogue,
be annoying. Yeah.
With it's this way, the characters are free to just kind of like joke, chum, and connect with each other instead of shoehorning. Like,
we have to bring.
Hey, remember the first time we came here?
Yeah,
and the first time we came and visited this house after Margaret Cho swallowed glass.
Yeah. No, you're totally right. And I think it's more about it being the last time, and so much more about the concept of family even. I mean, that's, as much as this is a romantic comedy and it is like Pride and Prejudice, I think the emphasis is more on the family of friends you make and keep in life, and less actually about the romance.
Chosen family.
Yeah.
It's like the log line was,
I think that really,
something like that.
I think that really is like more where the heart of this movie falls, and I love it for that. It doesn't exclude anyone from the lesson or the feelings, like it's very... Yeah, I liked it. It was very, it didn't bend to other people. Like apparently they got notes, from people who they mean well, but it's like, you don't know what you're doing. Like they were basically like, well, maybe we should get like a Dua Lipa song in that scene. And they're like, yeah, that's great, but I don't really think that works here. Right. It's just like people just thinking they know a little something, and that's why it's very important to have, queer people telling a queer story.
Exactly.
Because they will not fuck it up.
Tell your own story.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
A couple of reviews, just to get through. Someone called this a mainstream queer classic. I guess you can immediately become a classic. Yeah, I could see that.
I could see that for sure.
Oh, we got an air chopper. I don't know if I can hear that or not. Rolling Stone called this a Valentine to the communal gay experience, penned in a way that's uniquely both insular and inviting. That's who I quoted.
Insular, yeah. I mean, it's very true. I think that's really...
From Vulture, Fire Island settles on a shrug, but it's made up for by the film's portrayal of the friendship between two men who feel marginalized, even within what's supposed to be a sanctuary for their community. Who's your best supporting player in this?
I think the friend that you had already mentioned who took too much K.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, the friend who took too much K.
The friend.
I'm beautiful. That's definitely one of the funniest moments of the movie. And he's like, I'm also worthy, and this. Yeah. I'm strong.
I'm strong. I'm good.
He was great, and
yes.
And I will say, maybe this is this movie's already dealing with so much to unpack in terms of classism and sexism and whatnot, and it's definitely linked to this. There were a lot of like really fit dudes in this movie, and I think it was nice seeing
another body type
there,
and also like it wasn't commented on, but the wardrobe certainly revealed a certain, I don't want to say a lack of confidence, but a certain shame, like, or a body shame, like we didn't have time to get into it, but it was there.
Yeah,
there was
definitely good stuff.
Even that he had that reaction on the K, like that,
I thought it was very sweet to see, because it's like, he's surrounded by all of these like some like very like rude fucking.
He's been feeling shitty about himself, and then this drug like clicks open this thing for him, and like
he is adorable.
Oh, he is. I mean, that's like sometimes what happens on a hallucinogen is like suddenly humanity is beautiful to you, like, and you feel connected and like what a great body I have. It keeps me upright. And, you know, it's like you suddenly like forgive all your flaws and you're just like, no, you're a beautiful little human. Like, yes, it's a great feeling. So when he sees himself in the mirror, when he sees himself in the mirror and has that moment, I'm like, I'm so happy for him. You know, I was just so
very
happy.
Sweet.
But I think that's an excellent nominee, because I think the obvious, well, I don't want to say obvious, but it's sort of like, oh, am I picking Margaret Cho? And although
I like her, but they didn't give her a whole lot. I really think she was she's an Easter egg / very fun plot device.
And honestly,
she's a fun plot device.
She probably shouldn't have had any more focus, given what this film is about.
Yeah, and I think she understood the assignment too.
Absolutely.
And it's not,
of course,
it's not really about. She had some funny lines, but it's not about her, and she just plays like a very she plays like a nurturing figure.
Yeah,
for them.
absolutely.
And I liked it.
I did
think
too.
It worked.
There were a couple of laugh out loud moments I have to point out when they come to the rich people's house party and they don't know what they're walking into. They like come with like a half bottle of wine. Yeah. You know? And when they round the corner and realize like, oh, it's a fucking mansion, one of them just throws the half drank bottle of wine away, and you just hear a woman like go, ah!
I always love that gag when someone throws something and you hear something crash. Like
so good.
A cat or someone's like, oh.
Yeah, like, oh. Yeah, I love
cars crashing or something. I love that.
Yeah, same. I also really loved Lindsey Graham in The Parent Trap. I would watch that. I would watch that.
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either, but I like that line.
It was funny.
And then just like the gays in space thing, and you know,
that was really funny seeing
Bowen talking about an SNL sketch.
That was a meta, but I was actually gonna say it was really funny seeing him sitting in the really big chair.
I love that too.
When they find, I like how he keeps he's finding all his friends on different drugs. Yeah, and he's finding him on Molly, and like it's impossible to have a bad time.
On Molly, it's so true. Yeah,
and he's just sitting there in this huge chair like a little boy. Like, yeah.
And I love when he goes to the ground. He's like, "No, the ground is the new chair." So good.
Very cute. Very cute.
So
stuff.
good.
Very fun stuff.
I really enjoyed it. A couple of things about our director, Andrew Ahn. He was born and raised in Los Angeles. He was born in 1985. He's an American film director and screenwriter. He graduated from Brown University with a degree in English, and then got his MFA in directing from Cal Arts. He made a short film called Andy in 2011, which screened at a lot of festivals, got a lot of good attention. He also served in post-production on 2 documentaries, Vito from 2011 and Tab Hunter Confidential from 2015, which I love. Tab Hunter is fascinating, and that documentary like made me aware of a whole bunch of shit. And Tab Hunter's cool. So totally
look it up.
Yeah, I mean, he was a 50s Hollywood heartthrob. You know, I mean that name Tab Hunter. You know, Tab Hunter, excuse me. But he was gay and closeted for much of that time. But I think like got outed in Confidential, or there were lots of like rumors circling. Anyway, the point is he's an interesting actor, and he did some John Waters films like later in life.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, he played like a love interest for Divine. So I fucking love Tab Hunter. Anyway, but another kind of queer, it's interesting that he was working in the documentary field on a similar topic. Yeah. Some things he said about the film. My goal is the same as a director, whether I'm directing comedy or drama. I'm searching for emotional truth. Audiences have to believe the moment that is unfolding in front of them. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of moments in this movie I believed.
It's a very believable. The acting was really grounded for the most part. Like and that's tough with a rom-com, because I feel like, especially you see some of like
some rough ones,
and even with like really big name actors, and I feel like in some cases it almost seems like, oh, I don't have to try as hard.
Yeah, because
I'm gonna phone this in. I'm not going to take it seriously.
Yeah, because it's like, as long as I do this, and this, we'll make the money.
Everybody like really like committed and had fun with this.
Yeah, and it was said by other people too. But that scene where Will and Noah are on the dance floor together, and then start to dance, and it's like everything's in a wide shot, and then we get really close, and again the darkness is working in our favor.
Their chemistry was really good.
I mean, that scene was like, oh wow. Like there were a couple of moments where the camera lingers and just gives us a little more time to like be in the moment with them. But I thought that felt so real. I believed that, like, because they kind of hate each other, but then it's like, oh shit, there's something here. Talking about just the tone of this, he said, I tried to have a light touch. If I over manipulated it, I'd be forcing a tone instead of finding a tone. He's working with a lot of different actors. He was very okay with them improvising. He wanted it to feel, lived in. Yeah. He said, I benefited from being an indie filmmaker because I have no expectations of my work being seen. Also, he said, I wanted to show these characters as beautiful beings. I think that's really sweet.
That's nice.
And in general, he said he was really inspired by the flora and fauna of the island, and he really worked that into the sound design. So you hear a lot of bugs and waves and ocean.
Yeah, you definitely
rain.
get a lot of the sound, like the wind
nice,
rustling
right?
leaves sounds.
So
and
good.
palm
Sound design
fronds.
is like, it works on you in a lot of ways.
Yeah, you really like it. This is a very summer vibes.
I know.
This
I
movie
literally made me
worked.
want to go to any beach.
Really worked.
But yeah.
I also want to give a shout out to the final shot of the film when they're on
Love
that pier,
that.
and then they must have used like a drone to just pull out,
goes
and it
on.
reminded me. And I don't know how whether this is conscious or not, but it really felt like a backward sort of parallel to how the birdcage opens.
Oh yeah.
With like panning across the water all the way into the club.
That's so interesting.
And I liked how this felt like it was I don't know. I'm maybe that's just a coincidence, but I really liked that.
But the
and they're
birdcage-
dancing. The last dance is the disco thing, whereas We Are Family.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
So there's a lot of overlap.
similarity
and
there
I think
in spirit.
Disco culture is very queer friendly in general. So
yeah.
it's like just seeing that seeing those overlaps. I liked
totally
that
agree.
panning out.
I loved that too. That was I definitely was like, wow.
It really made me want to put on the birdcage right after.
Yeah.
Actually, like I was
It's
very
going
much
out
like
and going back in.
We pan out from Fire Island and then we pan into Miami.
I mean, what was it? South Beach? Is
or is it South? Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it's Miami. It is.
Oh, okay,
it is,
I don't know.
Florida, but I'm
you
just
could
like,
have told me South Beach was something different, and
maybe I might have got that wrong.
Anything.
I may have that wrong. I just know there was like a particularly like gay, whatever.
Yeah,
anyway, obviously
that was a very gay movie.
Oh, but the best.
Yeah,
Not
no objection,
yeah, not a
no objection
problem,
there.
not a con. Just a few more details about Andrew Ahn. For a number of years, again, he lived in Los Angeles, was raised here. I guess he lived in what he described as a gay Asian flop house in Echo Park. He said he paid $399 in rent. And there were 5 dudes to 1 bathroom. They had no central air, and apparently there was a possum that got in at some point, and they couldn't get it out for a month.
Oh my God, there's just a possum.
Yeah, but what he said about this place was that, it had all that, negative stuff, but because it's that kind of place, they had parties, and the lifestyle they were living was, they had lots of theme parties there. And
how fun.
So one of the ones he had was called Asian Glow, which was a black light party. Homo Alone, their Christmas party. And then they had a Shen Yun themed party, which I'm like,
that's great.
And this, again, he talked so much. I read a really interesting interview with him on Salon. If you're curious, to go check it out, because he just talked about just the importance of him, of how like so much of his experience as coming out as gay and being in a queer community was tied to his Asianness, that he had found like a community of people in college, that they went out together. And so for him, this has always kind of been a thing that's married. And I just think it's interesting, like, there's a certain world he really wanted to showcase, and these parties that he's describing, photos from those parties he actually used were part of like the pitch deck or whatever for this film. So he was kind of living that life a bit, I mean, not a bit, completely, and these just feel, the screenplay was written by the star, Joel Kim Booster. It's just, it's so authentic. It's so rooted in a very specific experience, but in no way leaving anybody out, like the more focused a story gets, the more the universal themes appear, and it's like, oh, I get that. I have felt that rejection, or I have protected myself by assuming I'll be rejected, and I mean, God, like how many of us do that to ourselves, and we actually like put a lot of things in our own way, but to not avoid connection, but just like, well, maybe to avoid it. I don't know. I just thought there's just a lot of interesting...
To avoid getting hurt.
To avoid getting hurt. Yes, that's it. I just think in some ways the movie's also a bit of a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
Like don't ice yourself out. Don't be too prideful, and don't have too much prejudice.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Don't be too fiery, and don't have too much island.
Yeah.
It works the same.
It works
Don't
the
question
same.
it.
And not to make fun of my boyfriend, but I will a little bit. I was like, oh, we watched Fire Island. He's like, is that about the festival? And he thought I meant like Firefest.
I got a little confused initially too, and wondered if that was...
Oh, no, not at all.
Did Firefest happen on Fire Island?
No.
It was
down in some bullshit Bahamian whatever.
Yeah, because they spell it with a Y too.
Yeah, no, this is totally different. And Fire Island's like one of those things that like I knew about purely because I had gay friends, or because a gay character in a show is like, I met him on Fire Island. You know, and I'm just like, oh, okay, I guess that's like a gay thing. You know, yeah. So I wish it was fun. I kind of wish I could like body swap with a gay man and go to Fire Island and live it up, because it kind of looked like fun.
It did look like a lot of fun, like a fun oasis, in spite of all of the internal racism and classism.
Lest we forget so quickly. But it's about your chosen family and other things. Yeah, it was good. It was very charming.
There you go.
And yeah, we're gonna go to Fire Island sometime. I don't know.
Yeah. Where's do they have like a
ladies' island? I don't know. I don't know how that works actually.
Lesbos.
I mean, I'm sure like a straight person could go. You just might feel kind of bored, you know?
Yeah.
Because like it's nothing here is really for you. Yeah, nobody's really for you.
Yeah.
Anyway, any other lingering questions?
No, you know, yeah. I think I wouldn't. It wouldn't be the first. I wouldn't. It's very tough for me to ever say I would rewatch something, because I don't really rewatch a ton of
I don't either
stuff.
We give ourselves this question,
but this is a very rewatchable movie. Like it's very fun.
I mean,
I would definitely put this on in the background at a party.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine and I was like, have you seen Fire Island? He was like, no. And I was almost like, I would watch it with somebody who hasn't seen it, you know, just to be like, I think I could watch it again soon, just because there were a lot of good jokes.
As long as I didn't have to sit still the whole time.
I hear that.
Because I'd probably get a little... movies, even movies I love, I get stir crazy.
I eat like a handful of edibles to go to a movie. Like, it's just so I can be comfortable in my chair.
It takes a lot.
Because otherwise I'm just like, I get all fidgety and I'm like...
Also, going to the movies just isn't as fun as it used to be. Hot take?
No, it's a take, an accurate one.
Yeah.
I love the new Bev. Anytime I go somewhere else, I realize like, oh God, what have I done?
Yeah, exactly.
I saw 2001 at the Aero Theater, and no disrespect, they do great work, but it's Santa Monica. It's a totally different crowd. It's like college kids and their rich parents.
Exactly.
And there was no fucking parking. Santa Monica has now like if it's after 9 p.m. they're like, get the fuck out. Like,
forget about it. Forget about it.
Like, I'm trying to come see
Santa Monica.
I know.
What are you doing?
I don't get
You're looking for parking out here in Santa Monica.
There used to be lots of parking that hadn't, like, you know, a street sweeping limitation, and that was it. But now it's like, no, it's 2-hour parking, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.
And then after 9 you can't.
And then after nothing.
Unless you have
Unless you have a permit.
Right.
So I'm like, fuck you guys. Like, I had to walk quite a distance to go see that.
Yeah.
It was fine, whatever, but I'm just, Santa Monica the message received. You don't want to see it.
Yeah, or you have to pay like an exorbitant valet fee or whatever. Or it's like that part of Sunset Strip is like similar. It's like, good
this is the like Montana area. And it's like, maybe you're lucky and a meter opens up, but it's like valet parking and just nobody wants you there.
I bet employees have to pay for parking too.
Oh, I'm sure they're screwed. Places. Oh my God, no. One of my first jobs.
I used to have to pay to park in Westwood at the restaurant I worked at.
Yeah, you were telling me. It eats a huge chunk of your checkout. Yeah. It's like, great. Okay.
Yeah. Fucking dicks.
Fucking capitalism.
Fuck you, BJ's.
Yeah.
No, BJ's, you were actually pretty good to me. I shouldn't complain too much. Well, pros and cons. There were some assholes there.
Not BJ's Brew House, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. With
like the Pizookie.
Yeah, the chain restaurant Pizookie spot.
Yeah.
But then it's funny, like people would get pizza. They'd eat pizza at our place, and then they'd go across the street and wait in line for Diddy Reese. And I remember when I transferred to UCLA and I had Diddy Reese, and I was like, this is the most overrated bullshit. Like, you just bought grocery store ingredients and slapped them together and added $3. Bullshit.
When I see that thrifty brand vanilla ice cream, it's like that off-white color, and it's not like a good creamy color.
It's not legit thrifty. Like, thrifty ice cream itself
is actually good. You're right.
You go to if you go to House of Pies, you're gonna get that yellow ice cream.
Don't get it a la mode, because you just get that yellow fucking.
Get the yellow
shape,
ice cream. It's not even that.
I bring my own ice cream in a cooler, and then I scoop it at table side.
I tell you, yes, exactly.
I have been kicked out of a number of places, but you won't stop me. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. We really, really appreciate it. We mean that. From the bottom of our hearts.
Thanks, you guys.
And from the top of our hearts. It would really, really help us out if you could leave us a review. Apple Podcasts does a lot, but anywhere. We'll take it anywhere.
No, we really appreciate it. And thanks also to everybody who has those. Just
oh my God,
I hadn't looked at the reviews in a minute, and it's just a lot of really, really nice,
very nice things.
Very appreciative. Like you seriously didn't have to do that. But
yeah,
on that note,
yes, they did.
Yeah, no, you like please more, and it's more praise. Please.
I mean, and it is about ego, but more in the sense that we want more people to listen to us, not that we need the praise.
It's the same as just like if you.
I know we're good. It's not about you.
If you engage with us, you'll boost us, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, that includes. You can find us on social media at Fresh Movie Pod. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We also have a Letterboxd account. That's fun for you film nerds.
Good stuff. I like the collage. Good stuff. Right. I'm looking in Victoria's room. Okay, bye guys.
Bye.